We all know that the Ten Commandments typically are divided up into two tables, one dealing with our responsibility towards God, the other more focused on our responsibility toward each other. But they're still all touching on the economic issues. The first commandment calls us to have no other gods before God. Well, what is that telling us? Isn't that reminding us that everything else that follows in all of our lives is to be lived under submission to Him? Isn't that the reminder of where we started, that once there was God and He made all things and we're under Him in our exercise of dominion, that we can't pretend to be equal with Him or above Him? The second commandment tells us not to make idols of anything in the created order. That's our temptation. You see it in Romans chapter 1, in that we worship because we're made in God's image, but we worship creatures rather than the Creator because we're fallen. The third commandment itself is, again, an examination of our tendency to exploit not just land, not just labor, but to exploit the very name of God, calling us not to treat God's name as some sort of magic talisman that's going to bring us what we want, but to truly honor Him by honoring His name. How about the fourth commandment? We remember, and in fact we tend to feel it like a burden, that God calls us to rest one day in 7. And He certainly does, and that's certainly an economic issue. But how much more so the call that God gives us in that command to work 6 days. 6 days shall you work, and the 7th day you rest, because it's a holy day. Do you see here in this first tablet how we're called to submit to God and how this impacts our entire economic lives?